At the Quahog Mall, Peter and Joe accompanied Quagmire on a mission to buy a new computer. Meanwhile, back at the Griffin house, Lois and the kids were clearing out the attic when Lois stumbled upon Stewie's old teddy bear. Stewie immediately recognized the bear as Oscar but refused to acknowledge any sentimental attachment, much to Lois's confusion. Back at the mall, Quagmire called Peter in a panic, desperately needing help uploading pictures of his cat online. As Peter grudgingly tried to assist, Quagmire's growing fussiness began to test Peter's patience. The situation escalated when Quagmire cried out in frustration that his computer had crashed. Meanwhile, at home, Stewie found himself deeply conflicted. Despite the flood of emotions brought on by seeing Oscar again, he felt he couldn't betray Rupert, his current and beloved bear. Determined to fix his computer, Quagmire brought it to a repair shop at the mall. The receptionist informed him that malware from a suspicious website had corrupted the system. Strangely, Quagmire found himself intrigued by the receptionist, who seemed to share some of his more eccentric interests. Wasting no time, he asked her out to dinner, and she agreed. Quagmire's first date with Sonia went exceptionally well. She appeared to match his wit and charm perfectly, and their chemistry was undeniable. However, things took a wild turn the following night when Sonia spiked Quagmire's drink and left him dazed. The next morning, Sonia surprised Quagmire with breakfast in bed. In his vulnerable state, Quagmire confessed that he was falling in love with her. Later at the bar, he gushed to Peter, Joe, and Brian about Sonia, even updating his relationship status to make it official. However, Peter expressed skepticism, warning Quagmire that he was moving too fast. Meanwhile, Brian discovered Stewie having tea with Oscar in the attic. Caught off guard, Stewie begged Brian not to tell Rupert, fearing it would ruin their bond. As Quagmire's relationship with Sonia deepened, their adventures grew increasingly bizarre. They got intimate in a high school basketball court, covered themselves in ink to print Chinese characters on each other, and pushed boundaries with increasingly outrageous activities. But when Sonia suggested Quagmire be intimate with his father-turned-mother, Ida, even Quagmire was disgusted. However, Sonia insisted this was what made their relationship exciting. Constantly pushing limits. Back at the Griffin house, Stewie had a spat with Rupert, dramatically declaring their relationship over. This left Brian puzzled as he watched Stewie wrestle with his emotions. At the bar, Peter and Joe were shocked when a visibly battered Quagmire arrived, looking worse for wear. Sonia appeared soon after, attempting to lure Quagmire back with her usual seductive antics. When Quagmire begged for a break, Sonia lashed out violently, kicking him before shoving him into her car's trunk and driving off. Concerned for Quagmire's safety, Ida approached Peter, worried about not hearing from him for days. Joe joined in, admitting Quagmire hadn't shown up for their usual plans. When Ida mentioned that Quagmire wasn't at home either, it raised an alarm. Back at the house, Stewie was horrified to catch Brian inappropriately close to Rupert. Furious, Stewie snatched Rupert away and vowed to protect him. Meanwhile, Peter, ever opportunistic, convinced Ida and Joe to clean his garage and mow the lawn under the guise of searching for Quagmire. Their search led them to a shady part of town, where a man informed them about Sonia's infamous sex slave shed. As Stewie battled his emotions, begging Rupert to choose between himself and Brian, Rupert shifted toward Stewie. Overcome with joy, Stewie embraced Rupert tightly while Oscar was left dangling from the attic ceiling, beneath a hauntingly large painting of Stewie. Elsewhere, Ida, Joe, and Peter tracked down shed number 92. Breaking inside, they found a bruised and broken Quagmire tied up and hanging from the ceiling. Now, Sonia, fully unhinged, confronted them, threatening to teach them a lesson for interfering. Joe raised his gun, but Sonia wrestled it from his hands and aimed it at him. Fortunately, the weapon wasn't loaded. Joe tackled her to the ground, pinning her down and slapping on a pair of handcuffs. That evening, Quagmire thanked his friends for saving his life. Reflecting on his harrowing experience, he made a bold vow. In future relationships, he would be the one in charge of the kinks.